A gute Voch, Rabboisai. Lili Nishmasi Mimerosi Rusbas Mordechai. Today's shir is being sponsored by Yitzi and Malka Nachfolger in honor of the Pidyon Ben of our dear son Yehuda. I apologize. It was my bad. I didn't see it on Friday. It was supposed to be on Friday. But the kid is, believe it or not, he's still 30 days here. 30 days. Pidyon Ben. Okay, it's 31, 32 now. Mordechai Sapaznik is sponsoring tonight's shir for the yard side of my great aunt, Rebbetzin Ruchel Wertheim, Ruchel Basarav Aaron. How do you pronounce this? Rechel. Rebbetzin Rechel Wertheim, Rechel Basarav Aaron. May her neshama have an aliyah. She should be a Meilitz Yosef for her entire mishpacha and all of Klal Yisrael. And sponsored anonymously by Kalman of the Five Towns in the merit of Menachem Mendel ben Simcha. Samson, I don't know what happened here. He went to Jewish names. Shimshon, Kalman's son, who's 6, will be completing Mishnai Sukkah in honor of his grandfather, Mazel Tov to Kalman and Erlene Milberg. So, as Kalman said, he's focusing on Torah things. So it's beautiful. His 6-year-old son is finishing Masechtas Sukkah. Beautiful. From Eli Osborne, from Gibraltar. Firstly, I want to thank you for your regular shiurim online and a huge effort that goes into it. It is truly appreciated. I've been watching your daily shiur on YouTube and sometimes on Zoom at 6:15 a.m. Gibraltar time since the beginning of Erev. Rabbi Isai, this is a very exotic place, Gibraltar. It sounds exotic. It's on a rock. It's a special place. So I hope that Eli Osborne sends in a picture of him learning the daf, and he'll be the first of many. If you are in an interesting place, like if you're in Manchester right now, or a really interesting place, please send in a picture. So I think it's a great idea. We'll do a video for the Siyum of Masechtas Pesachim with all these different people from different places around the world. Where in the world? You did that. Avigdor Fold, you could also send in a picture. You're in an interesting place. So my dear father, David Osborne, is a regular Zoom attendee on your Daf Yomi shiurs. Baruch Hashem, celebrating the marriage of my youngest sister. You're also, Lanny, this past Thursday and over the weekend before the lockdown kicks in. Mazel Tov. So Mazel Tov, I think, maybe it was his father. Somebody just sent in another email from Gibraltar. Maybe it was his father. Baruch Hashem, we have several Daf Yomi shiurim in Gibraltar twice a day. But I've always enjoyed listening to yours while also virtually connecting with my father to experience the Daf Yomi together. Which reminds me, I just chapped Dani and Zev Fine and Yishkoyach Dani for the beautiful bottle of wine. It's all connected. Thank you and keep up the good and holy work you are doing spreading Torah around the world. Best regards, Eli Osborne, Gibraltar. Huh? Who? This is Gibraltar, really? Osborne, your family with Gary? I feel bad for you. Happy birthday to Mordechai Seltzer. 25 years old. Wow. Up in the booth. You got to see what the space marriage is. One of a kind. There's a media booth on the second floor, and there he is, hanging out, doing all the YouTube stuff and all the cameras. And I heard that Yisrael Goldstein is live. Oh, here he is. He's live. So if you're wondering how do you see Yisrael Goldstein live, he's not in Borough Park. He's in England right now. This one is very interesting. I don't know who this guy is, but I'm assuming he's a bacher. Even if he's not a bacher, whoever he is, his name is Uri Meir. He says, if possible, I would also like to make a symbolic donation. And he gives lower than $100, let's say. So I thought it was beautiful that a bacher gives money. To me, that's a nicer thing than a $1,000 gift by some wealthy guy. And I don't know, when was the last time I said the story, but I cannot remember the details exactly. I was sitting at a chasana with the guy, I forgot his name, Sorotskin, and he told me an amazing story. He is the head of Yad La'achim, I think it was, and now he's in the Knesset or something. You know what I'm talking about? What? Chinuch Hatzmai. Yeah, that's who it was. So he told me this story. I hope I remember the details, and I said it over a while ago, but I forgot the details already. He said that a guy called him up, a Koil guy, and said, I started going to Night Seder again, so I'm getting an extra $100 a month, and I would like to donate the $10 of Meiser to Chinuch Hatzmai. Could I give it to you? How do I do it? Huh? To Lev La'achim. To Lev La'achim. Okay, that's who it is, Lev La'achim. You remember the story? I said the story. So the guy gave the money. This is for the new guys that didn't hear the story. So he's like, could you call my secretary? No, I want to do it through you. I don't trust anybody. Kids are home mice. He gave the $10 a month. He's a guy that collects millions of dollars. This guy gives him $10 a month. Fine. So then he's in New York, and this wealthy guy gave him, let's say, I don't know, $1,000. So as he's leaving, he says, I want to tell you a story. This guy in Koil called me up, and he was very excited about his $10, and he wants to give the extra $10 a month. So touched that guy, and he gave, I don't remember, another $5,000, whatever it was. And then later on, that wealthy guy came to Eretz Yisrael, and they took him around, told the Gdolim. Somehow, because of this $10 that this Koil guy gave, this wealthy guy ended up giving $100,000 to Lev La'achim. So sometimes it's small money that makes all the difference in the world. So Rabbi said today, big surprise, for the next few days, we have very easy, light Gemaras. Mamish, like for the next 5 days, we're going on cruise control. In fact, Amud Beis, we learned already 3 times since the beginning of Shas. Literally 3 times, word for word, everything's going to go, it's going to fly. So, Omar Rava, we're holding on Daf Amud Beis, 2 lines from the bottom. Omar Rava, we're just discussing what happens if somebody puts a plant into the ground, a truma that became tamei, puts it in the ground and outgrows more. So the Gemara said the plant itself loses its tuma. Why? Because once you put it in the ground, you mevatel it from food. Yet a kohen cannot eat it. Why? So the bottom line was because there's a special maila that we have when it comes to truma. We put it on a pedestal, we treat it differently, even though logically speaking, once you put it into the ground, it loses its tumah, so why can't you eat it? What's the problem? It's not, no, you can't eat it. Says the Gemara, let me bring you a few examples of the same concept. Omer Rava, Afanana mitanino, I made a bracha already. Not psamin, regular. Afanana mitanino. We learned this, the same thing, that there's a maila that they made in kachim, even when it became kachim balpeh, with a mouth, as the Gemara was discussing, there's a difference bepeh and bekli. It says in the pasuk, "V'nosan olav mayim chayim el keli." By the meichatos, the paraduma, you take the water of the paraduma, you put in the ashes of the paraduma, and you sprinkle those ashes on the tamei mace. So it says v'nosan olav mayim chayim el keli shetei chiyusam bekli. So on the one hand, it's a contradiction. On the one hand, it says chiyusam bekli, that the kli, when you take the kli, this is made out of gold, kli sharis, you put it in the spring, you catch the water right like this. Chiyusam bekli. And then it says v'nosan. It says first v'nosan. So which one is it? V'nosan almo tulushaninu. That the guy takes it from a cup and pours it into v'nosan. He's the one that does it. So which one is it? Is it a human being that puts it into the kli, or you take it directly from the spring? It has to be from the spring. Daf Amud Aleph. Elo malo, hochanami malo. No, the MS midoiraisa, a human being could take it from a regular household kli, pour it into the klishares, and that klishares makes it kadosh and becomes meichatos, the paraduma waters. Malo, the chacham came along and they said, you know what? Go directly to the source. Why? It's a maila. It's a derabanan maila. Omer Rav Shimi Barashi Afananem Tinino. We also learned. We're talking about a mitzayra, right? He spoke lashon hara, whatever it is. He has a tzaras. Goes into the mikvah. He has to shave his hair. A whole process. So he finally goes into the mikvah. So he could eat meiser sheni. We're going to be using this chart a little bit today. Meiser sheni, why not? Where is it? If I can find it. This is also maybe important for now. So Nachamal, we'll go through it. If a guy has 100 apples, a crop, he has grapes, we'll call them apples. He has to give 2% to the kohen. Then he's left with 98%, he gives 10% to the Levi. And then after he has only 88% left, he takes 10% of the 88%, 8.8%, and he gives it to himself, Meiser Sheni. He has to bring it to Yerushalayim, eat it. If not, he could redeem it to money and brings the cash to Yerushalayim and eat it. So this Meiser Sheni, a Mitzoyer can eat after he came up from the mikvah. Now, once again, these are concepts that not everyone was familiar with this just a half a year ago. He is Tameh, he's a Mitzoyer. So he goes to the mikvah. When he comes out of the mikvah, he's a Tul Yom. He removed most of his tumah, but he's somewhat Tameh. So it says over here that even though he came out of the mikvah and he's not 100%, there's no sun, there's no Be'erev Shemesh, he could eat Meiser Sheni. Erev Shimshoi, and then sundown came. So what is he now? He has to bring karbanos, a bunch of karbanos, because he's a Mitzoyer. So now he's called the Mechusa Kippurim, because it's not daytime yet, it's only nighttime. So nighttime, Erev Shimshoi, Oichel B'Truma. Now all of a sudden he can eat Truma. Beforehand he couldn't eat Truma. When he's at Tful Yom, he couldn't eat Truma. It even says here, this is the old chart, from what daf? I don't even remember. In the Reb Chanina's Gana Koyanim. So it says, Chulin Mutter, Truma Aser. Over here it says, Truma Mutter, Kodesh Aser. So, beautiful. We already learned this. Like what? In that Chosh V'Sugya, Chanina's Gana Koyanim. You could eat Chulin, you can, but what else could you eat? Big Chiddush. You could eat Meiser Sheni. What you cannot eat is Truma. So you wait until nightfall, the stars come out, now you can eat Truma, but you cannot eat Kachim loy. Amai, Taru. He's completely tar. Why can't he eat Kachim? Elo, Malo. It's Midrabanan. Well, I don't know if it's Midrabanan. Could be it's Midraisa. But over here, Mailo, Hachinami Mailo. We might be deviating a little bit from this Mala. Until now we're talking about the Rabbanon. This might be the Iraisa. As Rashi says, the Goris and Rashi, not the Rabbanon. The Ovid Rachmana Maila Bekachim Afilu Min the Iraisa. Okay. Omer Ravashi Afanat Namitanina. Here's another one. The Habasar. Where's the Basar? Oh, sorry guys. Oh. Here's the pasuk. V'habasar sheyiga b'chol tamei lo yochel beishi saref. Basar that touches the tummy, you can't eat it. V'habasar kol tar yochel basar. Now you see right away there's a problem here. This word, but befrat the vav. What would be wrong if v'habasar the meat? Beishi saref. Habasar beishi saref habasar. What's v'habasar? Ve and the meat. The vav is extra. So memela. What do I say? L'rabois eso eitzim ulevoino. Oh, so now Erev Shabbos, Jonathan, I don't know who Jonathan is. I'm assuming it's my second cousin, Jonathan Stefansky, because a woman came to the door and gave me a package. So from now on, this is going to be the new frankincense. This is literally frankincense in here, in this bag. I didn't open it up. Should I open it? No? I know, but it has a Ziploc here. Nobody smells it online. You could see it. Rabbi says, is this edible? A bunch of rocks. They're not edible. You see, Gershon? You want to give a zoom? Nah, you give a zoom, the guy starts complaining, I got an email already. So zoom, because I want to see how many people write in that it's annoying. Frankincense. This is what they put on the menachas in the Beis HaMikdash. A spoonful of this. Shkoyach Jonathan. Huh? The zooming in, the zooming out. You know what's going to happen the rest of this year, Rabbi say. I apologize. Okay, so that even Eitzim Levaina, B'nei Atmuyinu, what they become tamei. What becomes tamei? Food, kalim, people, not wood, not frankincense. Ela malo, hochanami malo. Fine. So that's the story. Now, Rabbi Isai, we're going into a new sugya, a mishnah about matzah. Geschmack Sachen, easy stuff. We're starting something new. I'm not really familiar with this. I have to discuss it a little bit more. But we'll start from today that the official new mishnah is in memory of Reb Chana and the golden doves. One day I might say over the story again about the golden doves. It was in the Gemara. But if you want to look it up, I tied in something to just look it up on YouTube, Golden Doves, a beautiful Maisa. So, Brachas Daf Nun Zayin says Leibi. Official was very touched by that story. Official from Official Catering in Baltimore was very touched by that story. and he took it to heart, and he told me ever since we said the story that he has golden doves throughout his life, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu blessed him with corona. Not that he got corona, but because of corona, he was able to give out food and different stuff. So he wants to sponsor. He gave a tremendous donation to MDY. He's sponsoring these Mishnayos. If anybody else wants to jump on board, he's looking for other people. I don't have to speak to Avi exactly how it works. But anyways, the official new Mishnah. Elu dvarim she'adam yotzei midei chuvasa bePesach. You're talking about Leil HaSeder. In Eretz Yisrael, 1 night, in America, 2 nights, in Chutz La'aretz, 2 nights, in London also, in Gibraltar, 2 nights. We're not talking about Pesach. In general, we're talking about the Leil HaSeder. How you yoytze matzah? What? Reb Netzer is on from Milan, Italy. How do they do it in Milan, Italy? Check out his hotel. What's it called? My Kosher Hotel. I was there once. Beautiful place. So, I don't know if it's his mishpach. I don't remember how it works exactly. So, stam derech hagav. Why does it say elu dvarim? If you look at the next Mishnah, it talks about marar. We're getting into the heavy stuff here. Matzah, marar. Next Mishnah doesn't say this. It says elu yirakos. So shouldn't it say elu matzahs? So I saw a pshat from the Hoin Yashir. He says, based on the Gemara that you'll see later on Daf Vav, such a concept that this is matzah. A lot of things were said about it. The Gemara he's borrowing it, I guess, from the Gemara in Daf Vav. Okay, fine. El dvarim she'adam yotzei midei chuvasa bePesach. Bechitim with wheat. Besa'orim with barley. Bekusmin with spelt. I brought spelt. Why? Stam. Here, spelt. People use this, believe it or not. Ube shifain rye, terrible stuff. Stay away from it. Ube shiboilish, well, no, rye bread is geschmack, but when they put those seeds in there, no, forget that. Rye is great. Ube shiboilish shual, oats. Shiboilish means an ear. Shual. So Rashi goes out of his way to say that the reason why it's called shiboilish shual, oats are called shual because it resembles the tail of a fox. I didn't have shiboilish shual. I had a wheat piece in my house. Here, you could zoom in on this, Gary. And it looks a shtickle like a tail, I guess. It's not exactly this, but what's very interesting that when I was printing out, later we're going to be talking about doichan. And you could see over here, you see how it looks like a tail a little bit, and it's called in English foxtail millet. So they use that word, foxtail. Interesting, just thought it was interesting. That it also has like a tail. Okay, fine. V'yotzin, now, says the Mishnah. Derech Hagav, real quickly, because it's Motzei Shabbos, we could stick this in. The Tiferes Yisrael says over here that there's a certain order. That's why the Mishnah says in this way. If you have all 5 grains, these are the 5 grains. If you have 5 grains, use chita first, then use sa'ira, then use kusman, shifain, shibois shul, etc. Fine. V'yotzin b'dmai. Demai. What's demai? Domai. Demai. The Chachamim were concerned that the Amaretz, the Amaritz, remember, he doesn't take maisrus, so they will mechayiv you, if you buy from Amaretz, you take maisrus. V'yotzin b'demai. What if you didn't take maisrus and you made matzah from it? You're yotzah, let us say there. The Gemara is going to discuss why. U'b'maiser rishon shenitlot trumasoi. So once again, maiser rishon. First, you give 2% truma to the kohen. Maiser rishon is the 10% that you give to the Levi. Why it's called rishon? Because this is a trumas maiser that the Levi has to give also maiser from his maiser, 1% of the total, whatever, 10% of what he got, which is like 1% of the total. Unless, not really, because you give 2%, so it's whatever. But, so the first maiser is the 10% you give to the Levi. It's called maiser rishon. Shenitla trumasoi. So everything is great. Nitla trumasoi, meaning the 2% for the kohen was already given. He took his 10%. Great. So nothing wrong with this, right? So what's the chiddush? Gemara is going to discuss. Ube-maiser sheni vehegdish nivdu. Maiser sheni. The next step is to give 10% to yourself. So if you made, you're allowed to eat it in Yerushalayim. Or, if you don't want to go to Yerushalayim, you redeem it. So once it's redeemed, now you take that and you make a matzah out of it. Great. Vehegdish, you made something kadosh for the Beis HaMikdash, and then you took it back, you really wanted it, it was sentimental to you, so you paid the Beis HaMikdash the $100 that it's worth, you took it back. Now you can make a matzah out of it. A kohen gets challah, which is like a truma, he can make a matzah out of it. Could a Yisrael eat it? Absolutely not. Ube truma. And the kohen could use his 2% that he gets and use it for truma. Aval loy betevel. Tevel, As we understand it simply, not as the Gemara explains, tevel just means food that you didn't take trumas of meisers. Now, if you give the 10% to the Levi, and the Levi didn't remove his trumas meiser, the 10% of 10% to give it to the Kohen, he cannot make a matzah out of it. And you cannot take this meiser sheni that goes to yourself if you didn't redeem it, or hegdish that you didn't redeem, you can't use it outside of Yerushalayim. If it's inside Yerushalayim, Shalom Aleichem, of course you can eat it. It's in Yerushalayim. We're talking about you didn't take it to Yerushalayim, and you didn't redeem it, so you can't eat from it. Chalois ha'toida, a person in those days that something good happened to him, he was saved from a disease, from a jail, whatever it is, he has to bring a carbon toida, he brings 40 breads, 30 of them are matzah. So he made 30 matzahs. Obviously you can't use the chametz ones, it's Pesach, but the 30 matzah ones he wants to use Leil Seder. Chalois ha'toida rikigin nazir. Also, Nazir has to bring these. If he designated it for his carbon, now he said, no, I don't want to bring it for my carbon. You cannot use it for Leil Seder. What if he made them? He knows there's a lot of Nazirim coming up to Beis HaMikdash. There's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of carbon taitas. It's a great business because Erev Pesach, that's when everybody comes, all Klal Yisrael comes to bring carbon Pesach. They're all going to now bring the carbon taida. Where are they going to get bread from? He has a booth outside and he sells the bread. That bread you can use for the matzah. Again, he made them with intent for the carbon, but because it wasn't for himself, it was for somebody else, you can use that bread for the matzah. Tana. Kusmin min chitin. This is important because I cannot take pomegranates and make truma on my grapes. If you're talking about shivas aminim, whatever, I'm not going to say apples, but I like apples anyway. Fine, pomegranates don't go on grapes. Kusmin, which is spelled, works on chitin. So you see, it's not. My wife is not so off by using this. It's in the same mishpacha. You also, everybody does. Okay. Okay. It's better for the stomach, they say. Okay. Shibayl shual v'shifain min sayrim. So oats and rye are part of the barley family. Kusmin gulba, shifain dishra, shibayl shual shabili ta'ala. The ears of a ta'ala, of a fox. Says the Gemara, hani in oires v'doichan loy. This reminds us of a sugi in brachas, right, Levi? So it's only the 5 grains. What if a person made matzah out of oires? The simple meaning of oires is rice. V'doichan, millet. Millet, here, go back. People make bread out of millet. Says the Gemara, loy. Hani in, v'oires v'doichan loy. Not. V'nani mili omer Reb Shimon ben Lakish v'chein tana devei Rishmo v'chein tana devei Reb Elazar ben Yaakov. Omar Kra, it says in the pasuk. Lo yisoichal olav chometz, shivas yomim toichal olav matzahs, dvarim habayim l'dei chimutz. Something that comes to leavening. Adam yoytz b'dem dei chavasai. What do we say leavening means again? Fermentation. Adam yoytz b'dem dei chavasai b'matzah. So you can make matzah out of something that becomes chometz, ferments. Yotzu elu, but not rice and millet. Shem bayim l'dei chimutz. I see it rising. I see it doing the same thing as the regular dough. They spoil. Don't confuse spoilage with fermentation. So, when we learn brachas, I said this, I'll say this again. One of the questions that I remember from the Dirshu test of 8 years ago almost, I think I got it wrong. But it really upset me. I went into the kollel and a guy that wasn't learning brachas at all, he just gave it to me like that. He's a Magid today in Yeshiva in New York, big Talmud Chacham. I forgot his name. Oy. Anyway, the question was, what possible bracha achroina is there on rice? What bracha achroina is on rice? So the answer is 3 possibilities. You either make bar nefashos, or you make ala michya, and Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri holds you make birkas hamazon. And here's the sugi again. Masnisin deloik Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri. Da'amar oirez min daganu. Rice is one of the chameshes aminim. V'chayavim al chimutzi kares. And you're chayiv if you eat it on Pesach. What's interesting is that the Rambam paskins not like Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri. So therefore, all Sfardim, they'll eat rice on Pesach. They don't care about Rabbi Yochanan. They scratch him out. Ashkenazim are a little bit more concerned with him. Like, I think it is. There's some. You're saying because of the, what do you call it? Because
mixing in the rice. If you have clean rice, that thing without the zera, so
it's a avad is a chumrah. Well, you think it's part of the things? They're mechulik on me. Okay, ayin sham. I'll look it up better. The chita is mixed in the rice. I thought it had a little bit to do with this. All right, we'll figure it out. The Sanya Rabbi Yochanan, it's not a shail of kidneys, but okay, maybe. The Sanya Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri Yoser, Ba'eres v'doichan. Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri says, also with rice and millet b'nei shekarv la'achmetz. You cannot make matzah out of it because it's close to leavening. Now, big shaila, what does close to leavening mean? It almost becomes leaven, or it becomes leaven really quickly. Big nafkemina, hibaylu. Shekarv la'achmetz, the kademu machmetz, that it becomes chametz very quickly. Memela, there is an isur kares because it's literally chametz. Chametz gomer lo have it. It's almost there. It's 97%, but it's close, but not close, but very far. It's a big nafkamina. Do you get kares or not? If it happens very quickly, so it's true chametz, you get kares. If it almost becomes leaven, then you don't get kares for that. Toshma. This ayom Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri is min daganu. It's 100% dagan v'chayav machimutzi kares. You get kares, in other words, that it becomes chametz quickly. There's a certain thing called karmis. What is it? My karmis, Omar Abayo Shitznisa. We love when the Gemara gives us one word for another word. My Shitznisa, Omar Papa Shitznisa, the Mishtakcho Beni Kaloniziyasa. So Rashi gives a few pshatim here, but basically, you could go, if you just want to get a nice picture, it's pereg, which is poppy seeds. Somehow it's made it into the hamantashin, and that's what the young guys say, no, officer, I was just eating poppy seeds, whatever. Omar Rav Barbachana, Omar Shlokish, Isa Sheniloisha. So now, Rabbi Isai, we're going into a sugya of... I know you are. That's why I don't want to come to these measures. You're one of the...
If you eat a lot of poppy seeds in your blood, it looks like you took drugs.
I just said that. But if you'd be listening, you wouldn't repeat. I sure did. Go back and you'll see. So now we're discussing matzah. What is it called? Oive. Matzah shiro. The sugi of matzah ashira. What does matzah ashira mean? A matzah that it's rich. It's not made out of the two ingredients of water and flour. You stick something else in there. Put some juice in there, honey. Now the Torah says lechem oini, poor man's bread. Perhaps this is not what poor men use. If you kneaded it with wine, oil or honey, and chayav machimutza kares. Chayiv, it won't become chametz that you chayiv kares. Yosef Rav Papa Rav Huna Berei Rav Yeshua Kamei the Rav Idi Baravin. They were sitting in front of Rav Idi Baravin. Yosef Rav Idi Baravin become an amnim. So we have this a number of times in Shas, at least 10 times in Shas, where somebody fell asleep. The Rebbe fell asleep. But when they didn't fall asleep. They're like in and out. They're like taking a little nap, but they hear what's going on. So there's a discussion going on while he's like dremeling on, whatever the word is. My time in the Rish Lakish. Why does he say that if you use wine in your dough or use apple juice, it's not chametz? Why not? Shiva Asiyam Tegel Matzos Lachem Oini Ki Bechipazin Yatzosem Eretz Mitzrayim Leman Tizker. Fine. Dvarim Shadim Yoytze Be'em Yidei Chavasim Be'Matzo Chayav Malchimutzi Kares. If you could be Yoytze with this matzah, since you can't be Yoytze with apple juice matzah, so you're not Chayiv Kares if it becomes chametz. According to this, it would be okay to eat a cake on, right? A couple eggs, a little this, a little that. You can eat cake on Pesach. And the Torah says lechem oini, and this is not lechem oini; it's matzah ashira. So you're not chayiv. There's no chametz on this. So they're going back and forth here, and Ravidi is sleeping here. So you ask a question: you take matzah, disgusting. Listen, in the nursing home, this is what you have to do, I guess. Take matzah, you put it in water, you puree it. It becomes mamish like oatmeal, like a sagi matzah. Puts it in a im chametzu onish kares. You chayiv kares. Why? Because you just consumed chametz. However, the matzu ain't other than Pesach. You can't be yaitza. Why can't you be yaitza matzah Pesach? I just ate a whole matzah. Look, it was a matzah. I just poured a bunch of water, hot water. It's not sagi. It became into chveisvas, baby food. What's wrong with that? The answer is because that's not how you eat. That's not derech achila. You buy matzah, you eat it like this. But for chametz, we don't care. There's no derech achila by chametz. You consume chametz, you're chayav on chametz. But for mitzvahs matzah, not. As the Gemara, Voch, you're not yoitz on the Lela Seder if you eat sagi matzah, but if it's chametz, you're chayav on chametz. So you see, they're not connected. There's no relation between mitzvahs matzah and chiyuv chametz. I could not be yoitz matzah, and on the other hand, I'm chayav kares for the chametz. Itabu Ravidi Baravin. He woke up from the kasha. Omerlu dardiki, you children, you don't know how to learn. Hainu time of the Rish Lakish. You know why Rish Lakish says that if you make a matzah out of apple juice, any juice, it's mei peiros. Mei peiros, what's the halacha? Daf Lamed Hey Amud Beis, umei peiros ein machmitzin. Juice doesn't create chametz. It doesn't create chametz. So mainly you're not chayiv kares if you make a matzah out of it. How can you make it? It's not chametz. Finished. End of story. Now, exactly what happens here? So the Shulchan Aruch says if you put mei peiros into flour, it could sit all day long. It'll never become chametz. Right. Now, if you add, there's a whole taisvus here. If you add 1 drop of water, according to the Shulchan Aruch, not only does it become chametz, it becomes chametz a lot quicker than regular water for whatever reason. Okay, it's mashma from Rashi also that there's 0 water here. So it says in the Mishnah that if you make matzah out of dmai, in other words, we don't know if the Amaretz took Trumas and Maisros not. It's a chomer derabbanan that you should take it again, but he didn't. He's yaitza. Ask the Gemara, dmai hola chazilai. How could this be okay? What's the problem? First of all, it has to be, Rashi says, it has to be something that if you're over on Bal Toichal Chometz, something that's Chometz. But if there's another Isser over here, you can't be Yaitza. Second of all, it's a mitzvah Baba Aveira. I'm trying to be Mekayim the mitzvah. We're talking about Leila Seder here, not the rest of the Pesach. Leila Seder. Trying to be Mekayim mitzvahs matzah with what? With something that Chachamim told me I can't use. So how could I be yaitz to the mitzvah? Says the Gemara, Kivin di boy mafkilin chasei have ani v'oichel d'mai. Very famous sugya. A person has the ability right there and then to get rid of everything he owns. He's a multimillionaire, but for mitzvahs matzah, he'll just be mafkir everything. And the ani could eat d'mai. So Mamela, he's also, why? What's the svara here? Because listen, it's only a chumr derabbanan. So for the mitzvah matzah, we come up with such a svara. We say, look, you could be mafkir in a chazan. Hashanami chazile. This nam achilim sanim d'mai v'sachsanyu d'mai. The soldiers you can feed d'mai. What kind of soldiers? Over here Rashi says that they're Jewish soldiers. Other places different. Ma'achilim sanim d'mai, and poor people could eat d'mai. Again, this is because the Rabban can do whatever they want. Aniyim could eat d'mai. Right? Because if it was the Issa the right, so there's no such thing. This society could eat it. This level, wealthy people, yes, and then not. He's in one of his moods today. So Bishami say you cannot. Okay, Basil says you could, and we go by Basil, you could feed. So since you could do that, we'll make it into a, what do you call it? I'll pretend that you're poor. You could become poor since you have the ability. It's like amigo. You have the ability to become poor, so maybe you could eat it. Shine. Very cute question that I saw from the Meiri and the Maram Chalavi. He asks, why do I have to say I could become poor? Just say I have the right to be mafkir my demai. If I'm mafkir my demai, something that's hefker doesn't need trumas and meisers. You're the kasha. Why do I have to be mafkir my $10 million in the bank? Be mafkir my $1 matzah and Shalom Yisrael. I don't have to give trumas and meisers. So the answer is very pashut. It's negel ma'isa. You can, something that had a chi of truma on it to begin with, you can't be mafkir. You could be mafkir something before the chi of vuschal. Then you could be mafkir. Okay, but now there's already a chi of. You can't say, oh, there's a chi of truma, I'm going to give it away. All right, we're starting the sugya that we had 3 times. This is the 4th time. I just want to say Shalom Aleichem to Reb Shaya Halpern. Shalom Aleichem. David Holder is on. Shalom Aleichem to you. Oh, I saw, what's his name? Netzer, I think. From England. Shalom Aleichem. Meir Sherman is on. Shalom Aleichem. Long time no see. And the birthday boy is Avi Shupper. No! This is, now I'm excited. You're not going to believe what I just saw. I don't want to be Mavayishim Barabim. Robert Links, Shalom Aleichem. Listen, you made my night. You made my night. Whatever. I'm not going to go into other stuff. You know why. Nobody else knows why. All right, fine. Robert Links. It's been a while. So Rabbi said, when we learned this entire sugya in Brachas, we brought it down over there. Why? The whole Dmai, the whole thing, the whole Trumas, what's the Chiddush? That was because we had a whole sugya of Zimun. And we had the sugya we had it in Brachas, then we had it in Shabbos, we had it in Erevin, and now in Pesachim. Mamish, every single Masechta. Why do we have it in Shabbos? B'negeh to Muktzah. And we had it in Erevin, b'negeh to Erev. And guess why we have it here in Masechtas Pesachim? B'negeh to Matzah. So, it says like this. Meiser Rishon Shenitla Trumasoi. If we go back to the chart, the guy takes his Meiser, everything's good, right? You can make a matzah out of this. Pshita. What's wrong? What are you telling me things? He did everything right. Kiv and the Shenitla Trumasoi Chulan Avi, it's just regular Chulan. In fact, when the Levi takes his Meiser, a Yisrael could also eat it now. It's not like the Truma of the Kohen. This Meiser is for the Levi, yeah, but once he gives this Trumas Meiser, he does what he needs to do, everything's good. What happened was the Levi went and grabbed his Meiser Rishon before the blue happened. It has to go in order. First you give the Kohen 2%. Now what's left? 98%. From the 98%, he gets 10%, which is what? 1.8%. No. 9.8%. 9.8%. Now, what I meant to say 1.8% is the Kohen. If the Levi now takes from his 9.8% and gives some to the Kohen, it'll only be 1.8%. So the Kohen loses that fraction. And that's wrong. First of all, it's out of order. Second of all, the Kohen loses. What's B'shibalim? So there's 2 stages, right? We have, these are just for demonstration purposes only. Let's say a guy has a pile of wheat. This is what it looks like. So this is shibalim. The shaft is still on, everything's messed up over here. Shibalim. Now you have another stage, and this is miruach hakri. He smooths it down, no shaft. So if you do it in the first stage, this is before the chiyuv happened. Okay, so before the chiyuv, I think that it's not such a problem. Step 1, to give to the Kohen the 2% didn't happen. Rebavo holds that your potter, once you messed up the steps and you gave the Levi his 10%, you don't go back and give the Kohen his 2%. Why? Because the pasuk says, Vari moisim imenu trumas Hashem. This is truma of Hashem. Meiser mena meiser. Vari meiser mena trumas Hashem. Meiser mena meiser. Meiser mena meiser madilcha. V'le truma gdoila utrumas meiser mena meiser. The Levi shouldn't give two things. He should only give his trumas meiser, not truma and trumas meiser. So Rabbi said, remember this. Remember this Rav Papa saying to Abaya, and we'll have to remember the answer. Because the Gemara is going to bring it up again. And the Gemara is not going to say what it is. The Gemara is just going to say Rav Papa and Abaya. So it's kedai to remember it now. So why is it only in this stage that Rabbi Voch says that your potter, the Levi, shouldn't give the kohen anything? What about this stage? The second stage? The stage afterwards, also, if the Levi chapped it when it's nice and smooth and everything's going well, and there's a chiyuv of Trumas HaMaisros, and the Levi jumped ahead and he took his 10%, he should also be potter. Why in this case, if you take it from here, he takes his 10%, and he missed the 2% for the kohen, he has to go ahead and give the kohen 2%. What's the difference? What stage it's in? Says the Gemara. It's called Trumas Hashem. So it says in the pasuk, no, there's a miyut over here. It's called Trumas Hashem. Is it in here? No, not in here. Called Trumas Hashem. There's a miyut. We're going to get to this pasuk soon. Okay, but I have two stages. It could be this stage where it's nice and smooth that the Levi does have to give it, and it could be this stage where it's not so smooth and the Levi is potter. Umari Isa. Who told you which stage this pasuk that we just brought is coming to exclude? Says the Gemara, Hay idgan v'hay lo idgan. Because the pasuk says, Reishis degancha tirosh chavitzarecha. So idgan, this is already considered dagon, it's already meruach, you took off the shaft, idgan, mela. That's why there's a chiyuv here, a bigger chiyuv than when it's not idgan. Says the Gemara, Meister sheni v'ekdesh nivdu. So you get 10% to eat for yourself in Yerushalayim. You don't want to bring it up to Yerushalayim. It's way too many fruit. You redeem it for cash, and that cash you bring to Yerushalayim. Meanwhile, the Meister sheni that you left behind in somewhere else in Bet Shemesh, you can make a matzah out of it. Pshita. Oh, there's a halacha in Meiser Sheni that we don't mention very often, and that is, it's not just so simple to go redeem your fruit dollar for dollar, but you have to add a fifth, a chomesh. Now, somebody asked me, he says, no, you made a mistake. He said 25%. So I'm going to repeat it again. A chomesh is 20%, but we call it, in America, we call it 25%. It's 25% of what we know. It's 20% of what the Gemara calls it 20%. So in other words, if you have 100 fruit, so you have to bring Meiser Sheni 125. It's called 20% of 125. But we call it 25% because 125, you have to give 25% of 100, which is milgav. Once you take the 25% off and put it on top, now you have 125, and now you look at the total, the Gemara calls that a fifth, 20%. You understand? So when we say chomesh, I like to stick in 25%. What I mean to say is 20%, which we call 25%. Okay. I thought it was clear, but I guess I wasn't so clear. Maybe I shouldn't say it. Maybe that's what he's saying. Maybe he's saying that the Gemara calls it chomesh, you call it 20%. Okay, fine. Masking. 20%. Meiser Sheni v'ekdesh nivdu pshita, ma'askina shenasan ha'kerev v'lo yisach chomesh. He didn't give the fifth. V'komash malon the ein chomesh ma'akev. The fifth is not critical. So he designated 100, 1-to-1. He put money aside $100 for his 100 fruit. He really should bring 125. He should So that chomesh is not the end of the world. Bring it a different time. You could still make matzah from the fruit you have left over. And a kohen who receives challah, in our days, we burn the challah. In those days, they would give the challah to the kohen. Truma also, the 2% that he deserves right off the top, the famous blue, 2%. So what's the chiddush? Of course he can make matzah out of it. Pshita. This is a tremendous chiddush. Well, everybody else in the world, the other 90% of Klal Yisrael, how many I don't know how many koyanim there are, but anytime you go to shul, there's like one koyan out of 30 people. At most, even today, the 10%? What? You have 3 every morning, and how many people do you have typically? 12. So, okay. They're not more than 25%, and I think there's even less Levim, right, Gershon? Gershon is a Levi, so I don't know. So you would think, look, it's not fair. So just because he can make a matzah out of it, all of Klal Yisrael can't. So maybe it's puzzle. Such a matzah is puzzle. Says the Gemara, no, kamashmalim matzahs riba. We're going to use this a lot, but anyways, there's the Torah is marbid and says even that kind of matzah. Avalei b'tevel, and you cannot make matzah out of tevel. That's food that you didn't take trumas and maises from. Says the Gemara pshita. What's the big chiddush? Leitzricha b'tevel tovel midrabanan. It's only midrabanan. So if it's midrabanan, why can't I make a matzah out of it? The answer is because it's still mitzvah haba b'aveira. It's considered a mitzvah that you're making out of an aveira. Why is it midrabanan? Shizroi b'atzah she'ein nakov. Oh, here we go back again to the concept. Everything is becoming familiar. You have a pot. It could either have perforations on the bottom or not. It's a regular pot without any holes. So it's considered as if it's not nourishing from the ground. Not nourishing from the ground, you don't really have to give trumas and maasros midaraisa. Only midrabanan. But he didn't do it midrabanan. Do not make a matzah out of it. Oh, but matzah is deraisa. The rabbanan have powers also. What's the word? I'm saying it's mamsha mitzvah b'avera, even though the avera is the rabbanan. That's what I'm saying. And going back to the Levi, where is he? You guys know about Peh already. The Levi who got 10%, I don't even know if it's here. Oh, here it is. The Levi got his 10%, but he didn't take his 10% of his 10%. Pshita. You can't eat it. It's already in the Kri. So at this point, it looks like this. Where is it, Kri? I don't know. But anyways, it's nice and smooth. That it's no good. That he doesn't, I'm sorry. Rav Papa says that I don't have to take anything. Rabbi Voch says you don't have to. That Abaya answered him to Rav Papa that no, there is a chiyuv and melos. Fine. And he didn't take, and that's why you can't make a matzah out of it. And Meiser Sheni that you didn't redeem, Pshita. Says the Gemara, Loilam, the Nivdu, Umaylo Nivdu. So, no, you did redeem it. Umaylo Nivdu, Shle Nivdu Gilchasa. So again, you have Meiser Sheni, the 10% that goes to the owner himself, and he has to bring the Yerushalayim. If you didn't redeem it, of course you can't make a matzah out of it. He did redeem it. He just didn't do it properly. That what? Meiser Sheni, Shepadoi Agavasimoin, he took some sort of coin that doesn't have a depiction on it. The Rachmana Omar V'tzarta HaKesef. Davar here. Pasuk. V'nosato ba'kesef. And it should say, Biyotcha. What's V'tzarta HaKesef? V'tzarta, it has to have a tzura, it has to have a depiction. And if it doesn't have a depiction, the Meiser Sheni is in a chal. V'hegdish Shechil Agal Karkan. What's the case of Hegdish? That he did the redemption on real estate. He thought he's doing the Beis Hamikdash a favor. He's giving them a nice building in Manhattan. Not Manhattan. Today, not Manhattan, but let's say in Hong Kong or somewhere. No good. That's a pasuk that we're discussing, that if you magdish a soda, you have to give kesef. It has to be metaltal, and it can't be real estate. I would think that if you use tevel that wasn't fixed, you could be yoitz. Ask the Gemara, called tevel nami lo nitaken. What does it mean, tevel, that you didn't fix? The definition in the Webster dictionary of tevel means it wasn't fixed. You didn't take trumas and maasros. So what do you mean, tevel, that you didn't fix? It's like mayim achroinim vaser. Mayim achroinim water. Okay, if you don't know what vaser means. It's the same thing, right? So the Gemara, ela betevel shelo nitaken called tsar koi. No, it was fixed, but not completely. They gave the kindness 2%, but they didn't give the meiser. Well, trumas meiser, this 10% to the kohen. So in other words, the kohen got part of it, He got his 2%, but then the Levi got his part, and they didn't do purple. Meiser Rishon v'lo Meiser Sheni. They gave Meiser Rishon, but they didn't give Meiser Sheni. Now, Meiser Sheni, when do you give Meiser Sheni? On years 1, 2, 4, 5. What do you give on 3 and 6? Meiser Ani. What's the difference between Meiser Ani and Meiser Sheni? Meiser Sheni has Kedusha. Kedusha. Meiser Ani doesn't have any Kedusha. Says the Gemara, Vafilu Meiser Ani. If you didn't give the Meiser Ani on years 3 and 6, it also ruins the whole thing. You can't take a matzah. Meiser Ani doesn't have any Kedusha. And I in Tamaloymar, L'soichal olav chometz. Yotzezeh she'en isurim mishum bal toichal chometz, elo mishum bal toichal tevel. You ruined it because it has a problem of tevel. V'isur the chometz leichan azla. Now, where exactly did the isur of chometz go? So you're eating tevel, okay? But what happened to the chometz? Omar Sheshes Hamani Reb Shimoni the Omar ein isur chalal isur big yisoid in shas. That once you have this isur of tevel, you can't add to it an isur of chametz. What came first? Tevel. I have to do my trumas and before Pesach. Then comes the isur of chametz. Can't, so it's not chal. And memela, I can't make matzah out of it. The Sayyid Reb Shimon Oimer Daf Lamed Vav Amud Aleph Ha'oichel nevela b'yom HaKippurim. What came first? The nevela. It died, and then comes Yom Kippur. Potter. You're potter on Yom Kippur because there's an isur nevela. You can't add one isur on top of the other. What if the animal died on Yom Kippur, so Yom Kippur came first? So they say that then you'll have the isur of Ever Menachai first, says Rashi. So regardless, there's going to be a problem here. Either the isur nevela or the isur Ever Menachai comes before Yom Kippur, so therefore Yom Kippur is not chal on it. Ravina Amar Afilu Temer Rabbanon. Even Rabbanan that say that you could add one isser on top of another isser. Here's another problem. I want to see one isser on this matzah, the isser of chametz. Yotzezeh she'en isurim mishum bal toichal chametz bilvad, elo af mishum bal toichal tevel. Meaning bilvad ksiv? Where does it say bilvad? Who told you that you can't? Elo machvartik the Rav Sheshes. So we're going to go back to the original answer that ein Isser, Chal, and Isser, there's only one Isser. You're asking me where the Isser of Chametz went? It doesn't have room to fit into this Isser. Once you have one Isser here, like you have this Isser Nevela, I cannot add Isser Yom Kippur. Once I have an Isser Tevel, I cannot add an Isser Chametz. Have a wonderful week. I'll see you in 11 hours, Be'ezer Hashem. A gute Voch, a gesunte Voch, a freiliche Voch, a mazdike Voch. Hatzlacha.